Volunteers are a vital part of the work we do at Back Bay Mission. Without the hundreds of volunteers we welcome to the Mississippi Gulf Coast each year, we wouldn't be able to strengthen neighborhoods, seek justice, and transform lives through ministries like our housing rehabilitation program, the Micah Day Center, and our food pantry. I'm Chris Marlin Warfield, the Church Relations Associate here at Back Bay Mission. This National Volunteer Week, I want to introduce you to a few of the volunteers who take time out of their busy lives to serve the poor and marginalized of the Mississippi Gulf Coast and the people of the United Church of Christ through their work with Back Bay Mission. Today, we're going to hear from Kevin Frost. Kevin came to us through the United Church of Christ Volunteer Ministries and serves as our Micah Day Center coordinator. And a few years ago, Kevin did something really quite remarkable.
My name is Kevin Frost, and I have been working in the medical field as a registered dietitian for 33 years of my life. And I had an epiphany one day that I wanted to do something different. So 4 years ago, I basically started out on a journey and got rid of all my worldly possessions, and I ended up in a men's shelter as part of the men that would be in a shelter.
Kevin's journey from the choice to give up all of his possessions and live as a homeless person to volunteering at Back Bay Mission, serving the homeless population of the Mississippi Gulf Coast, is truly amazing. So I'm actually going to get out of the way and let him tell his story.
I had hit a point in my life where I was going to church, I was going to Bible studies, I was making very good money, I was single, not married, didn't have children, and it appeared that I was trying to just buy my way to happiness. That wasn't working. I was going to church, and I was still had a void in my life. So I decided that I needed to basically just do what Matthew 10, starting at verse 5, and that is when Jesus sent out his disciples. They didn't take money or tunics. They didn't take anything with them, and they just started out on their faith walk, and that's what I did. And basically, I feel like I was rescued by an angel. I was literally sleeping on pallets in the woods with leaves around me in the month of February. And a man came up, and he was also a homeless man, but he had been that way for 12 years, so he actually enjoyed the lifestyle. But he finally got with me and told me that I was not a homeless person, I didn't belong there, and that he was going to call a ministry to come pick me up. And that's how I ended up at the men's shelter. And I guess just due to my nature, I ended up being the director of that men's shelter, and I had 2 senior pastors that I worked with. And but I was basically working 15 hours a day, 6 days a week, and like all ministries, you can reach a burnout stage, and that's what happened to me. So I took a respite to go away for a while at the Benedictine Monastery, which is up in the mountains, and this was based off of a deacon of a Baptist church recommending me do that. I got there and I started discerning whether if I went back to the men's shelter, was it going to be less than 15 hours a day, 6 days a week, and I decided no, it wasn't going to be. So I continued to stay at the monastery. It was in the Pecos Wilderness in New Mexico. I lived maybe a block away from the Pecos River, which is towards the head of the river where it came out of the mountains. So it was very ice-cold snow water. I was there with 12 monks and 1 nun. I was the only resident on the campus besides the monks and the nun. There were other employees that came in and worked daily. There was a retreat house. And what I did, I was involved in working with the guests in retreats, especially when we had large groups come in. I worked with them in making sure that they were comfortable, that their dining experience was good. And then in the daytime, I worked in construction. We did a lot of remodeling. They had 1,100 acres there at the monastery, and 100 of it had buildings on it. So we were constantly, and the monastery was 108 years old, so we were constantly in the process of redoing or refurbishing or refixing something on the monastery. And it was a wilderness area, so it had wildlife. It had elk and deer and bears and cougars and rattlesnakes and all of the above. And I remember one month, because it was mating season for all the rattlesnakes, in one month I caught 8 rattlesnakes and had to haul them off of the property to get rid of them. I didn't kill them, but I took them across the river and let them go. So it was definitely a wilderness area. And on the religious, I'm a Protestant. I'm not a Catholic, and it was a very different experience for me to go to a Benedictine monastery for Catholics when I had never been to a Catholic service in my life. So, but I began to go into the chapel with them. They have 5 times that they meet in a day. And in the beginning, I was going to all 5 sessions until they asked me to, start helping with the construction. So I would go in and they would have prayers, and they would do chanting. So a lot of times I would be the only person in the chapel with the monks, regardless if anybody else came in the chapel or not. They would always do their chanting and prayers, and I was welcome to chant with them. So it would just be me and the 12 monks, and I would chant with them as they did their chants. And what they chant are the Psalms. And then they, during a church service, during a mass, they would play the organ, but during the regular prayer services, they wouldn't play any musical instruments. We would just do the chanting with our vocals. So it was a unique experience. I learned a lot about the Catholic religion, and was given the catechism and studied it, because I didn't have TV, I didn't have radio, and basically they had a library that had 25,000 books in it, so I did a lot of reading. And then after 14 months, I started having a desire to begin to work with the homeless again, and we were up in 8,000 feet in the mountains, and there really was much call for a homeless shelter in the mountains. So they couldn't figure a way, so they, decided that they were going to, promote me and sponsor me to go look for another location. So I found the UCC website, and I started, putting in my application.
Kevin put his application in with the Volunteer Ministries of the United Church of Christ, which is run by Mary Schaller-Blaufus.
And she made contact with me on a telephone call, and this is an interesting aspect of their interview. They wanted to do Skype with me, and I told her, I said, Mary, I'm at 8,000 feet in the mountains with 12 monks. They really don't have a need for Skype. And and I said, we don't have Skype here. And I said, we barely have internet. So she called me, and we had a phone interview, and she said, pick 4 locations you think you would be interested in. So Biloxi was one of them, and was interviewed by two of the locations, and then I talked with Kenny, and we finalized, and then I got an acceptance letter and came here.
I asked Kevin what drew him from the wilderness of Pecos to Back Bay Mission.
Whenever I go to your website and I look at the photographs, it's always interesting because the websites that have the photographs that you can see what's going on through the visual, the pictures. I said I look at the people in the pictures, and their smiles are not fake smiles. They're not Hollywood smiles. They're genuine, happy smiles. And I said that's what I'm gathering from the people who are coming down on the mission trips and the people I see there. They're genuine smiles, which means they're happy where they're at, and that's what was an attraction to me.
At Back Bay Mission, Kevin has encountered the United Church of Christ and a different way to be Christian.
What I know and understand about UCC, it's not like other ministries in that you come in and you receive a sermon. That it basically is the love, kindness, social justice, and walk humbly, and it is that carried forward in your actions more so than a preacher preaching at people and trying to get them to make that switch over, that they see that in the actions. I have that told back to me And I just had it told back to me this morning. And that's been a different walk in my Christian walk, where my actions are speaking louder than me preaching Scripture. So I'm living the Scripture by helping them as opposed to preaching the Scripture at them. And that seems to be the big difference in what's going on here. So I don't see that the Back Bay is where people would come in like there's another mission down the street here, and they have a church, and basically, you know, if you want to have lunch, then you come in and go to church first, and then you get to eat lunch. We don't make that happen here. We don't force that part of it. And so the way I have to reveal my Christian walk to people is through my actions and the way I approach them and the way I am. And that's been a change for me, too. That's been a growth period for me, too. I've learned to, number one, be less judgmental than I used to be. Number two, my patience level has grown dramatically. I would have to say in the last 10 years, my patience level has just, it's like I'm taking a patience pill every morning. I mean, it's just really taken hold, and I'm learning more patience with people. And speaking of being judgmental, meaning that I better understand where they're coming from. It's kind of like they're stuck in quicksand. They don't know how to get themselves out. And so I better understand that as opposed to, well, just pull yourself out of the quicksand. What are you talking about? and so that's where I've kind of peeled back the layers of the onion on myself to discover more about me. Also, that could not happen unless I was delving into my Christian walk stronger than I have in the past. And so as I continue this walk with both dealing with people in the real world and my Christian walk, the two collide, and I have to make those two join together to benefit both me in my Christian walk and them out here in society. And that's what's been happening. And it's a beautiful thing. I really have grown quite a bit, and I'm very happy about that.
Obviously, we don't recommend that everyone follow the same path that Kevin did into a life of service. But as Kevin points out, if you have a sense of adventure, there is a great opportunity at Back Bay Mission.
Well, I would say if they have any sense of adventure in their lifestyle and they want to discover, if they come to Back Bay Mission, they will discover a lot. They will discover about the people that they're helping. They'll discover about themselves. They'll discover where they are at in their station in life and what they can do to improve their lives, not only that they're improving the lives of others, because people may come to a mission and they may get a good feeling, the good feel about helping somebody else. But in that good feel, there is a lot of goodness in there in that you discover quite a bit about yourself and that you can take back, you can file that away, and it will help you in the future. So if nothing else, it is something that you can put in your own personal bank account of your lifestyle and come down and just experience it. It's not going to take away, if it's a week of your life, it's not going to, you've got plenty of life left to make up if you didn't care to come down for a mission trip. But most everybody that comes down, there are people that come down here 2 and 3 times. There are some people that have been here 5 times, and they keep coming back. So this is what I say to everybody. Back Bay Mission has been here for 92 years, must be doing something right.
This is the incredible power of Back Bay Mission, to provide someone who has dedicated his life to service with the opportunity to grow, both in that life and as a Christian. While you probably aren't in a position to give away everything that you have and start a life of service, you can experience much of what Kevin has experienced at Back Bay Mission on a mission trip to the Mississippi Gulf Coast. If you'd like to learn more about volunteer opportunities at Back Bay Mission, including long-term volunteer opportunities, please visit our website, thebackbaymission.org. You can learn about other opportunities to be a long-term volunteer through the United Church of Christ at the UCC website, ucc.org.